teacher stopped me and said that would be suicide. We had to climb to the top floor of the school and wait for help there. On the fourth floor, so we slept there. Of course, everyone tried to call their families, but nobody had phone service. It was so scary. We asked the teacher what was going on, and she said that she had no answer to the question at that moment. But she tried to get us to stay calm and follow her instructions. Stay calm? Where are our parents? What happened to them? When will they find us? When will this flood be over? Where did all the water come from? We were gripped by panic and started crying. Then we went to look out of the windows. A little later, we calmed down a bit and began to talk about how powerless we were before the forces of nature. It seemed as if our fears and unfulfilled dreams, together with our lives, were floating around down there. When at last we came to our senses, we saw our teacher taking food supplies from cabinets in the cafeteria and laying them out on the tables. She said that no one knew how long we'd have to be there, so we needed to ration the products, which were very few. We had several snack packs, cucumbers, half a loaf of bread, and some raw potatoes. But there was a lot of drinking water. The teacher reminded us that when we drink more water, we feel less hungry. We grabbed a bite and continued to watch what was going on through the window. Once in the next room, we were thinking about what we would choose to do that tomorrow would be the end of the world. At that moment, I saw my parents' car, which was totally destroyed, floating under the windows of our school. I could not be mistaken because there was the logo and advertisement of our family store on it. That meant that there were no other cars like it. And the worst thing is that in the passenger seat, I saw a silhouette. Mom, Mommy! I started shouting, and the teacher and other students ran up to me. They saw our car, saw this silhouette, and tried to slow me down. But no, there couldn't be a mistake. My mother always sat in the passenger seat. What had I lived through at that moment? The ground shifted beneath my feet. I no longer saw the voice in the audio. I'm here sharing my fascinating I stopped hearing things around me, so my classmates decided not to bother me and gave me some time so that I could pull myself together. As night fell, there was no electricity in the school, and it was cold. What's worse is that we only had 2 raw potatoes and 1 small bag of food left. In the morning, we all dozed off, and when we woke up, we found that the food supplies. Who would do that? Who dared to think only about themselves? I would find out, and unfortunately, this turned out to be impossible. There was no one to help me. We decided to let it go out of the darkness, and we were left with an unpleasant feeling. It was hard to think that there was a traitor among us. The whole day we were suspiciously looking at each other and didn't really talk to each other. But then we decided to relieve tension by playing basketball. This cheered us up a little bit. However, I still could not stop thinking about wishing my mom. I worried about my dad. I hope he survived. In the evening, Max fell sick. His temperature rose. So he got food poisoning. He seemed to have gotten what he deserved, but we still felt sorry for him anyway. We also feared that he would start feeling worse before we would all be saved. The next day, the flow of water had stopped, and this cheered us up. This meant that help would soon come, but we were so hungry that all our thoughts were only about food. We could no longer look at water. Fortunately, there were no problems with it at school. In the evening, we saw a lifeboat and started screaming. Hooray, they'd seen us. But rescuers asked us to wait a little longer until a helicopter would arrive to pick us up. By that time, Max already felt much better, and we were patiently waiting for a meeting with our parents and eating our lunch. The helicopter arrived the next morning, and we were taken to a temporary shelter for flood victims. It turned out that there was a dam failure in our city, and this was the reason for the disaster. Our parents met us at the shelter. They were there too. I could not believe my eyes when I saw my mom safe and sound. It turned out that my father took a mannequin from our store on that day in order to take photos of several new models of dresses that my mother had sewn the day before. When the flood began, the mannequin was in the car, and I mistook it for my mother. Oh, how happy I was at that moment. It was a real miracle for me. It was also a miracle that there were no flood victims in our city. My classmates were not even left by the situation. As for that, here's what I should tell. When you're ready, put on an IV drip and curse that bag of cookies. Have you ever been a victim of the forces of nature? Tell us in the comments if you are afraid of hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes. Click the thumbs up button under.
Bij Fusty combineren we de mooiste ingrediënten en maken zoals zwarte thee, zoete persik en Fusty voor een moment van
Ik kon daar niet lopen.
My parents and I were coming back home from a vacation on the wonderful paradise island of Langkawi. Hey, I'm Clyde. My is always about the same thing. Namely, to make me what my parents want me to be. Without any enthusiasm, I went into the living room, sat in front of my folks, and put on an unhappy face. Clyde, you are having a difficult period in your life. Well, not just you, all of us. Your mom and I cannot cope with you, so we decided to give you to another family for a while. Yes, we scared you with this many times, but today we found the right people and have already agreed on everything, said Dad. I was hoping that this was a game, so I decided to play along and laugh it off. Then I asked my parents to back off because I was not going to fly anywhere. After all, I have the right to my own opinion, don't I? However, my parents were adamant. A couple of weeks later, I was sitting on a plane, which was heading to Moldova. I'll tell you frankly, tears flowed down my cheeks. I felt rejected, betrayed, and unwanted. I had the desire to erase my parents from my life, but I understood that these were just emotions, and most likely they would pass soon. In addition, I was terribly scared and ashamed to face these strangers to whom my parents were sending me. During the whole flight, I was thinking about how the host family would treat me, if I would be able to find a common language in general, how legally they would speak. My parents found these people through some kind of student exchange program. Could they be trusted? I didn't even have a good conversation with my mom and dad before leaving, because right up until the last moment I was hoping they would change their mind. And I was scared because my parents chose a very poor family on purpose. For a whole year, I had to live in a small town with a population of less than 50,000 people, in sometimes truly unthinkable conditions. However, there was no turning back, and soon I arrived at the Chisinau airport, where I was met by my host family, Mrs. Emma and Mr. Ryan. They turned out to be very smiling and positive people. On the way home, they told me about themselves and shared interesting stories from their lives. Mrs. Emma turned out to be a children's acting teacher, and Mr. Robert was the leader of the children's choir. It seemed to me like we had known each other our whole lives, and they gave me a really warm welcome. A few days later, I totally got used to everything and became part of the environment. Right on, living conditions in our house were not so horrible. Yes, they lived in an old apartment, but it had everything necessary. I also liked the way they spent their free time. We often visited exhibitions, museums, cinemas, and theaters. I must say that I did not engage in any leisure activities with my real parents. We didn't have any trusting heart-to-heart conversations over a cup of tea. But now, strangers were more interested in my life than my closest relatives. It turned out that Mrs. Emma was fond of reading. In the evenings, she sat down in a rocking chair, covered herself with a soft blanket, and plunged into a novel. For a while, I watched her without saying a word, because I had never seen people reading before, and it was difficult for me to understand what she found in books that made made her spend so much time with them. But one day I asked her what she was reading and whether I could also try doing the same. She replied that her favorite writer was Alexander Dumas, and I could take any of his books on the shelf and familiarize myself with them on my own. This was a love and spent almost every week. In the fall, I went to a Moldavian school. It was very exciting, and at the same time very interesting for me. My classmates turned out to be wonderful guys. The only problem was that at first there was a language barrier. But everyone tried to help me learn Moldavian, and after a couple of months I began speaking it. On weekends, my parents sometimes called me to ask if I missed them in our home. But I answered honestly, no, I don't miss it. And once I even said that I felt offended because of what they did to me, and mentioned that I did not want to come back home at all. Mrs. Emma overheard this conversation, and in the evening she asked me if I really wanted to stay with them forever. I replied that of course it was a bad joke. I loved my parents, and I had my own home where they were waiting for me. It appeared that my answer made her feel sad, and she said that I still had some time to think everything over. Huh? Think what over? Since that moment, the behavior of Mrs. Emma and Mr. Robert seemed weird to me. They started to say often that they felt sorry that I was not their son, that they would like me to stay with them, and that my parents did not deserve to have such a son. I tried not to respond to such statements. After all, it was not long, so I could deal with some strange things. One day, a week before my departure, Mr. Robert said that we were going to visit his brother and stay at his house for a couple of days. I gladly agreed. A change of scenery would never hurt. But in fact, we went to some sort of barn in the forest. There was no cell service, and it seemed there was not a soul there. Of course, it turned out that there was no brother there. I asked why we came there. They told me that Mr. Robert's brother was together with his family. I really didn't like this, but I did my best not to show it. Instead, I tried to understand where we were and how I could get out of there. It turned out to be impossible. There were no roads, houses, or other signs of life nearby. After 3 days, I overheard a conversation between Mr. Walker and Mrs. Emma, in which they discussed what they would say to my parents and police when they were searching for them. From what I heard, I realized at that moment they were making a big document, a party of which I was prepared for the time, and they were taking me to Romania. Why? Why did they need me? I was really scared and did not know what to do next. I knew one thing. I needed to contact my parents immediately. The next day, I suggested that Mr. Robert take me on a walk in the forest, because he wasn't really interested in staying in places. He agreed, and I took a small walk. I quietly hit my phone. As we were walking slowly along the road path, Mr. Robert told me something was on in the forest. And then we came to a small meadow. I suggested playing volleyball. Earlier, before I arrived there, it was my favorite sport, and I've even practiced playing this game for about 2 years. When we started playing, I tried to throw the ball as high as possible into a tree, so that it would get stuck there and Mr. Robert would have to climb up to get it. Meanwhile, I would try to send a message to my parents. But each time, the ball treacherously fell down. At one point, Mr. Robert even got angry with me. Clyde, what's going on? You are playing as if you were blind. Stop missing the mark. But then I finally managed to serve the ball successfully so that it got stuck in the branch of the tree. Then Mr. Roberts suggested that I leave the ball there and return to the house. But I said that I would not go anywhere without the ball. For a while, we tried to knock it down by throwing sticks. Fortunately, our attempts were unsuccessful.
Ik heb er geen.
And Mr. Robert shot me by telling me to climb the tree myself. I'm actually really afraid of heights. This was my chance. And after all, I had a better opportunity of getting a cell phone signal at the top of the tree.
Oh, wacht, wat doe ik?
So
Nee.
I started climbing up, while trying to overcome